morning and welcome. It's afternoon here, but some people,
Yeah,
we got people in Australia, Japan, we got Israel, we got people everywhere, all over the world watching the show right now. We're all huge GameStop
that's amazing.
investors and fans, and I know people already started downloading the app and they're ready to shop, they're ready to do their thing. So tell us more about Drip. Well, tell us more about yourself. Go ahead, tell me what you
Yeah,
got.
yeah, happy to. Well, so first of all, how do I say your name? Is it Marantz?
That is perfect, Marantz.
Okay, awesome. Well, Marantz, great to meet you. Thanks so much for responding to my tweet, my Twitter DM, and also great to meet everyone in the Marantz community and the kind of the broader GameStop community overall. So maybe I'll start off with a quick intro, and I'm going to see if I can trying to get my camera set up correctly here. It seems like I have two cameras, but so maybe I'll give you some context on myself. So my name is Javon Lawrence. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Drip. I'm actually based in San Francisco, California, but I'm originally from Montego Bay, Jamaica. I moved to the US when I was about 10. And when I was 11 years old, I actually went to a GameStop for the first time and got a silver GameCube. It was a very, very, it was kind of a blessing to get it, especially as like an immigrant. So that was like a great experience. Afterwards, I went to college in the Northeast. I went to a school called Yale. Then, spent some time working at a couple of big companies. Most recently,
Hold on. You said you went to a school called Yale? Is that what you said? Like
yeah,
nothing? Okay, I got you. That's funny, but go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So I went to Yale, studied econ and stats there, and then kind of quickly realized I wanted to build a company. Kind of spent my career working, worked in consulting, primarily worked at like physical retailers. So I spent some time at Walmart, consulting for them, some other retailers, did some defense and security. Then moved over to work at LinkedIn. Then went over to be a venture capital investor. So I was investing in a lot of technology startups. And during COVID, I got back into Pokemon cards and discovered live breaking on Facebook groups. And so decided to start building Drip. And so what we're really building at Drip is we're building a platform to allow anyone to kind of earn a living from the things that they're passionate about. Really focusing on collectibles. And we've been at it for about 3 years. We've done a meaningful amount of volume, but we're quite smaller than Whatnot, which is where we think there's a meaningful amount of opportunity. And so that's a bit of high level context on myself and the company. I'm happy to answer any other specific questions that you may have for me or even from the community.
Yeah, so I mean, people will be filtering through questions. Anyone in the chat right now, if you have a question for Javon, I will read the questions if I feel they warrant a response. But the first thing I want to
Yeah,
tell you is thank you again for coming out and being on the show and talking to me.
yeah,
We're big on GameStop, and I know that
yeah,
GameStop is one of the premier retailers for Pokemon cards specifically. But GameStop's partnership with PSA really put them in a different category. It gave
yeah,
it gave PSA an extended footprint over America as far as 2,900 stores goes, and then
yeah,
everyone feeling that they could get cards at any time, break them,
yeah.
and send them off. You're creating, I would say, like a workaround, a liaison from shopping and delivering. What's your method on final delivery for the cards whenever we buy? Let's say you buy them. How do you guys get it to the customer itself? What's that whole process like?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, just to be clear here, we're not actually associated with a PSA partnership at all. Like, obviously, I've spoken with Nat, and Nat actually is the person who introduced me to Ryan. But even though what we've done in the stores, Ryan and Nat are aware of it, but they didn't actually say, "Hey, do this." They just said they didn't tell me not to do it, which is why I kept on going. So we don't necessarily have anything official on the books with them. What we have done, like in terms of the fulfillment, what usually happens is that we have a lot of kind of third party sellers, and these are people who may own their own card shops. So it's usually one store or maybe someone who's just streaming from their living room, and they will just usually kind of rip open the product, and so they usually are selling anything from like standard like kind of sealed packs of Pokemon products, and they usually will sell one pack at a time. They'll sell it by an auction or giveaway, and then they will mail that product to the consumer. And what we do to protect those customers is we will usually hold the money until the product gets delivered.
Perfect. So we had a conversation in text, just you and I, really quick, and you say you guys
Yeah.
are willing to compete against Whatnot. The question
Mhm.
here comes from the show. It says, "What makes Drip different from Whatnot, and what is the plan
Mhm.
to become bigger or even compete with Whatnot?"
Yeah, that's a great question. So, in live selling, so just to be clear, so Whatnot launched about a year and a half before we did, right? And we actually for some time wanted to compete directly against Whatnot, but then TikTok and Fanatics and eBay launched, and what we've realized is like actually what makes more sense is to work with a much larger retailer that has the brand, the footprint, and the dollars to be able to kind of make it scalable. Because live selling is initially when you launch live selling, especially across different categories, is actually really a talent business, right? And so in order to kind of to succeed in live selling and to unlock that talent, you kind of need, in my view, one of three things, right? So the first thing that you may need is you may need access to an audience, right? And that's what TikTok in particular does a really good job of. They have the largest audience in the market. Shops, TikTok shops is probably like 5 to 7 times larger than Whatnot is, and most sellers will go to TikTok. And if Whatnot wants them to switch over to TikTok, they have to usually Whatnot usually has to give that seller a subsidy to make that switch because TikTok just has such a strong audience. eBay also has a pretty good audience as well, right? But that's the first thing. That's the most powerful thing you can do to kind of compete in live shopping is having a great audience. The second thing is having inventory, right? The reason why is because inventory is just really, really valuable. Really, really valuable, especially for a lot of like sellers who we work with. Again, these are like small card shops or independent streamers. We oftentimes have guys who are just they will drive like hours to get access to product, especially if it's hot product. So like Prismatic, for example, is so hot right now, and not a lot of our streamers are able to get access to that inventory fast enough, right? So inventory is really important, and that's where Fanatics plays. I also think that's probably an area where GameStop is able to play really well, especially in TCG. GameStop's probably one of the largest buyers of Pokemon. I think they do anywhere from I've heard anecdotally about $2 billion of purchasing from Pokemon each year. And then the third thing that you need is you need access to the right kind of product capabilities, right? So being able to allow the user to kind of come on a stream and buy and handle all those high kind of frequency interactions, right? So people are chatting, they're kind of like bidding on auctions at the same time. Handling all those real-time interactions is also super important, and that's where we come in. That's also where Whatnot has also built a really good technology. So for us, like the way that we think about being able to I hope that answers your question in terms of how you succeed in live shopping. The first thing is audience.
Yeah.
The second thing is inventory, and then the third thing is the software. So the way that we think about competing against Whatnot is basically working to partner up with a larger player, and so GameStop is one of those players, but we're also talking to other players as well. Our preference, and I've told this to Ryan in an email, is that like, hey, I want to really figure out how to make this kind of work as a partnership. But obviously, he has a lot of other priorities right now. I think it's going to happen, but it's going to probably take some time. But I think the way you think about beating Whatnot is you first need to kind of figure out how to lock into talent, right? And so the talent is the people who are going on live, these kind of live seller creators. You need to kind of figure out first how to get those that talent locked in to give yourself the best quality content on your platform possible, right? And the way you do that is you basically just go to them and you just say, hey, in the case of GameStop, hey, I'm GameStop. I have access to great inventory, and I have a very, very passionate audience, right? That's buying from our website, that's going into my stores, that I can give you access to. The other thing that like GameStop in particular has access to a network of physical stores that you can go into and kind of like have really great experiences. So the way I think about competing against Whatnot, requires like having some initial capital to lock in talent in different categories. So I would say, for any given category, and there's probably within collectibles, there are probably about 15 to 20 that really, really matter, that can move the needle. I would go after, probably 4 to 6 of the best caliber talent in each of those categories, for Pokemon, for sports, across the different leagues, for coins, etc. And I would basically say, hey, I will commit X amount of subsidies to you to kind of launch your business on our platform. I will also give you access to inventory that I have through the network. All you have to do is just promise to stream on our platform for 3 to 12 months, right? And I'd basically do that across multiple categories, and that's the way you lock in the talent. So the reason why this is possible is because even though when we first started in the market, that's kind of that's the game that Whatnot basically played, and they did it better than we did because they launched earlier. Is they basically just went after different guys and just gave them that lock in. And there's a one seller called Backyard Breaks that they did this with, but they've done it across all other categories. The reason why I think this is possible now is because what Whatnot actually has as an advantage is they have, compared to everyone else, they have some capital, right? Which is, it's not as much as what GameStop has, or eBay or some of the bigger platforms. They have some audience, but they don't necessarily have, they're not the most strong as of that compared to like some other large player. So we've started to see like Whatnot's supply actually get taken out by Fanatics and eBay in particular because of this. So one of the largest sellers on Whatnot, a guy named Ryan's Card House, actually got poached by eBay maybe about a month ago. And the reason why they got poached, and the reason why we know this is because this seller was also working with us at the same time. They got poached by eBay using this exact strategy, right? Whatnot's also lost quite a few of its sports sellers because of the score strategy as well. And the reason is because Whatnot can't necessarily, like, Whatnot's the best startup player in the market. But if you have a player like GameStop or eBay or some other platform that just has a much larger audience and has access to some inventory or cash, you're able to kind of compete against them pretty well. So that's kind of a long-winded answer to say, like, the three things that matter in live shopping is audience, it's inventory, and it's access to the core technology. And then you compete against Whatnot by going after the key talent that they have and locking that talent in via like some combination of those core capabilities in addition to some subsidies for them.
No, this is a really good insight. This is why I don't interrupt you. This is a good insight on how to acquire the talent, because we're in the world of live streaming. Myself, I've been doing it for 4 years already, and I saw when I was approached by Rumble, I was approached by other apps, and finance apps, say, let's go do these partnerships, and they try to give you this carrot. And I said, well, I'm doing my own thing on YouTube. I prefer YouTube as my streaming platform. But I'll tell you what, I've actually done a lot of shopping online. I've done a lot of card collecting these last 6 months in general. I dug really deep with GameStop. But the question here is, because this is a niche question here. It says, what do you guys do in case you have a high value item and then it's not honored? What do you guys have a mechanism to kick someone off or get rid of them, hold them accountable? Because I've seen rippers, that actually violated some rules there where they didn't give them the cards that ripped open. What do you guys have there for a safety net to make the shopper feel more secure? What do you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, we are, as a platform, we try to do as much as we can to help the buyer be successful, and, the seller be successful. But for the shopper, what we often will do is like, we'll just refund if there's any issue that comes up with maybe a fraudulent, someone doesn't send a high value card or there's a fraudulent listing. We'll oftentimes just take care of the buyer ourselves. Right. The way that we guarantee though that like we increase that chance, and just so like for us, like our fraud rate is very, very low. It's like less than 0.25%. And a lot of the ways that we do that is because we do a lot of work up front to vet the quality of streamers on the platform. So, we have, historically, I think we have about, over 20,000 people who've applied this on the platform, and we've only approved, about 500 of them to actually stream.
Perfect. We had to do this. We had to explain all this away when PSA partnered up with GameStop, and we had to assure everyone, hey, you can send your cards through. It's going to be fraud proof. It's going to be secure. It's a good platform to do it. I've already sent out cards myself. So when you do it yourself and you're using them and you're doing it, that's why I'm going to use Drip myself, right? So dripshop.live, I'm going to be using it myself. I know people already signed up. They're telling me right now in the chat. And it's only because we want to support whatever GameStop's allowing, right? When you say Nat and Ryan, we talk about them in first name basis because we're huge investors. But beyond that, we learned so much about PSA graded cards when we saw Nat do an interview to talk about it, right? So like we're learning so much right now about shopping online with you. Like I understand the product, I understand the environment, and then how to actually gather the customer acquisition, right? Like how do I actually get that audience, that core audience? How do I have access to it? And so I understand where you guys are coming from. And I wanted you to speak on specifically your experience in GameStop and how that all came about. Like, how did you feel about it? What were the pros and the cons versus it? Maybe no cons, but go for it. Just speak on the GameStop, what you guys just did this past couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So, we did a collab with GameStop, and to be very specific here, we did a collab with we found this district manager in Ohio, this guy named Jamal, who's awesome, who operates about 25 GameStops there, and we said, hey, can we do a collab with you? And we did a collab at his store, and then ultimately we ended up getting corporate approval, and I also told Nat and Ryan that we were doing it in calls. Um, but the what we basically did was we actually went into the store, and I'll share a tweet here, and you can if you want to do a screen share of kind of like what that interaction looked like. But it was very simple. All we did was we went into the store.
Well, hold on. I
We
just
laid
want to
out
make it clear. I'm sorry. I want to make. I showed the pictures that you guys have on
yeah
your Twitter, and then I showed the one you sent me in DM as well. So people did
yeah
get to see you guys all in the store. We even watched a video right now on your YouTube channel, which is called Drip Shop Live, and you guys had a video about 20 views. I was like, we're getting more than 20 tonight, babe. But it
yeah
was you guys
yeah.
30-minute video of them ripping cards on site and stuff like that.
Yeah. So on the YouTube it had 20 views. It was on more views, like, so Twitter has like 250, because we do something called multicasting where we push this. I'm sure you know this, Marantz, as a streamer yourself, but you can multicast, and YouTube is one channel we multicast to. But yeah, we basically just went into the store. We just set out a table. We put up a banner, and we had some of the streamers in our ecosystem, some folks named Wheezy TCG, go by, and they just spent 3 days just selling product from the store. So they did everything from kind of ripping packs open. They also were doing some they were doing some like slab auction. So unfortunately, these are not PSA slabs, but these are they were like auctioning slabs like this from CGC and Beckett. But I need to find my PSA slabs. But they were doing they're auctioning off a lot of those things on the live stream, and giving some away as well to the audience. And I think what was like really, really interesting about it was that we didn't expect to actually sell as many GameStop products that we did. So, but we actually like core gaming products, so like controllers, specific games, Funkos, etc. We sold quite a bit of that stuff. But I think what was really great about it was that we actually were able to triple the week on week sales for that specific store through the live stream activation that we did. And I think the experience was, for the streamers was great. For the district manager, Jamal, was great. I think some of the things that he said was that, like, he made this one comment that we use in our marketing. He said, "Let's make GameStop cool again," from just kind of like the live environment that he created. But I think what was great was, number one, you had people walking into the stores. Some of the people that walked into the stores actually had viewed the stream from home. They were bidding on it, and they decided to kind of come into the store. We had one example of that, of a father and daughter doing exactly that. We had some other folks that were walking by that just were curious about it. They walked in and they interacted. The store leader also, Z, also had a great experience. I even heard that, like, there were multiple store leaders in the district that were actually kind of jealous that they didn't actually have the live stream happening in their store. So I think overall it was a great experience for that local GameStop, and I think for the team, working that store, they really, really enjoyed it. For us, it was really fantastic as well. I think, the reality is, like, about like a lot of the folks, at GameStop that you meet are just really hardworking, passionate folks that really care about the company. And so it was like amazing, to work with folks, like Jamal and like Z, that just have a deep passion for the brand and for creating a great experience for customers, and realizing that they need to do a lot of innovation to make that happen.
Well, that's phenomenal. I think about the partnership GameStop had just promoted where they did backyard breaks. They actually had an exclusive for around
Yeah,
300 stores, and it's all
yeah,
about scale for me. It's really tough
yeah.
to scale with you driplive.com. How am I going to be able to do drip shop live or dot live? How am I going to be able to do that if you guys don't have enough talent to put them out to 2,000 stores, right? So we have to pick and choose our
Yeah.
moments, but this is all manageable. These are all expectations, and these are all great. I want to commend you guys for doing something outside of the box. This is something different,
Yeah.
even for you guys. But the partnership can exist, right? And I'm just saying, I'm not saying
Yeah.
on the corporate scale just yet. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm just letting you know that it has to start somewhere, right? And so when I come up, and we were talking about this tweet by Larry Chang where he says, "What do you guys buy on whatnot?" And it's not that he might, Larry's on the board of directors along with Ryan and Nat, and they sit there and they brainstorm what's next for GameStop or what's next for retail, right? It's not just about GameStop. It's what's next for the retail giant that is, whether it be brick and mortar, whether it be shop online. What is the next thing going? So for you guys, I want to ask, what's the next thing going for you guys moving forward? What do you guys have set up?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, a big thing for us right now that we're spending time on is really continue to just deliver as much value as we possibly can for the collector, right? And collectors of, Pokemon cards, sports cards, One Piece, other TCGs, and other kind of products as well. And so we're building a lot of deep integrations to make that experience as delightful as possible. So one of the things I'm really really excited about is enabling collectors to be able to load up their inventory on our platform and have collections that they kind of map to in a way that's like very very easy. So normally you'd have to go in, you kind of have to add each product one by one, and that could take hours. But we have this new scanning technology that we're introducing, powered by AI, that's going to allow collectors to just automatically load up their inventory. And then the great thing about that too is that we're going to also enable them to get offers on that inventory as well. In particular, slabs, like that's something that we know that lots of different regional GameStop stores are looking to kind of get on to unlock. We're going to be able to kind of give them that inventory a ton. And so that's one thing that we're pushing on pretty aggressively. The other thing that we're also doing is like we also are seeing a surge in applications now from the TikTok shop ban and the TikTok ban in general. And not sure if it's going to get banned or not, but what we've seen is historically, whenever we see any sort of like surges, whenever we see bans in TikTok potentially happening, there are surges that take place. And so we're going to look to take advantage of that as much as we possibly can, because we think that in growing our network, it actually is going to make us a much more attractive partner for GameStop. Going back to your previous question about like how do we make this kind of scale with GameStop at a corporate scale. So we actually have the ability right now to staff 75 to 100 stores with live streamers with tables throughout the country, and we think that in doing that we could probably drive 50% increases in quarterly sales at those specific stores, and I think that's probably a really good start. I think that over time though, with the GameStop model, I think GameStop's going to look very similar to a lot of the traditional kind of, or the more innovative hobby shops that have been selling on Whatnot, that have been selling on our platform, wherein you basically have, kind of a full experience for consumers. They're able to kind of go in and shop physically. They're able to kind of like, go to different events for different releases. But in the downtimes, they're also going to be able to have access to streams, right? Where they can, if you live in Cleveland, Ohio, or if you live in in Miami, you can basically go on a live stream and shop products from that specific GameStop and interact with that particular technology, with that particular talent, and buy that product and then go into the store later on as well. So, to that last question that you asked, we have the ability to basically kind of do 75 to 100 folks right now across 75 to 100 GameStops. And we think we have a path to scale that pretty meaningfully. I think one of the more fun facts I've heard is that quite a few of the district managers I've spoken with and store leaders, they also streamed as well. So we think that there's probably even potential to, and we've heard that some of these guys they're worried about streaming because they're not sure what GameStop, if GameStop will approve that. So we think we could probably even scale to a few more hundred stores with folks in the GameStop network that work at the stores already that have the ability to stream.
Yeah, awesome answer, awesome everything. And my last part about this is I don't want to keep you all night. I know we have things to go over, and I'm just excited enough to know even one GameStop, because in the words of Ryan Cohen, we do this brick by brick. So I want to thank you again, Javon, for everything. If you have any parting words from the crew and the crowd here, we're all GameStop gurus. We know what it is. We support it. We shop at it. Bulk of our income goes to GameStop directly, but we're going to be checking you out on dripshop.live. I know people are already downloading the app, but you have anything else on the way out?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much again, Marantz and the entire Marantz Rant community for having me. I'm personally super excited about this potential collaboration with GameStop, and a huge part of it is because like that was a huge part of my own childhood. I had a Game Informer sub for 4 years growing up, and so I'm a big fan of the GameStop brand and love the passionate community. I think the core thing here is that I think Ryan, Nat, and Larry, I think what they're kind of evaluating right now is like how they're going to enter the market. I think they're very aware of the market. They understand that they probably need to go in this direction to kind of drive a lot of incremental value. And I fundamentally think that we can help them drive that value meaningfully. And so, I think the best thing that you guys, can do, as a parting word, is definitely just, the tweet that I just shared, just feel free to go ahead and retweet the tweet. right? And tag Ryan and Larry in it, just to make sure they know that, like, hey, this is something that, like, you guys know is happening, and you're in support of it. And I think the second thing is that, we're going to be looking to scale to a few more GameStop stores in the next month or two. And I'd highly recommend that you guys go and support those stores when they go live on platform, because that's the best way to kind of, like, help continue to prove this out to the team there at GameStop.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll support you. I'll support you. I only have around
Yeah.
30,000 followers, between TikTok and here, but we'll do the best we
Yeah.
can. I promise you. Guys, this is our boy right here. This is going to be Javon with
Yeah.
with Drip Live or dripshop.live. I'm going to get it right one of these days.
Yeah.
But hey, I really appreciate your time.
Long name.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time,
Awesome.
sir. Thank you so much. We'll see you very soon, hopefully. And like I said, I don't care if it's one store. I don't care if it's one weekend. I don't care if it's one product. We care that much about GameStop. Thank you so much again for your time, so you have a great night.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much as well, and thanks so much for the Rantz community as well. See you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. Well, there you guys go. That's exclusive. That is the CEO and creator of dripshop.live.